Hi, welcome. I'm Mary and I hook books. I crochet things inspired by audiobooks I listen to. And this is not going to be a full wrap up because I read 52 books in November. And big asterisk because it was novella November. So some of these novellas were like 30 pages. So they're basically just a little short story. I mean, it was still a lot. I think there were only 3 days this month where I didn't finish a book, and usually I did two or three. So that felt so good to just chop off a bunch from my TBR. I'm going to give you my top 10 plus a couple honorable mentions and show you some of the make ahead stash that I was focusing on instead of making individual little projects for all those books. Honorable mentions, these are some Audible originals, and Audible has changed the way they do things many times over the years. I do try not to participate in the commercialization of reading, but sometimes Audible just has some good stuff. So, they used to do Audible originals that you would get so many for free every month, and if you didn't pick them and download them, then you just lost that opportunity. So I have a bunch of those from way back that I never actually listened to. So I got around to a lot of those this month, and it felt really good to just knock so many things off of my to read or to listen to list. And one of my favorites was this little audiobook about caffeine and how coffee created the modern world. This was so tightly written. It was very well researched, a lot of fun, and my love for coffee has been stoked even more. And also, the Downloaded by Robert J. Sawyer, starring Brendan Fraser. This was a really cool mind trip kind of a book. People get downloaded, and then the world ends, and they come out of the downloaded simulation they were in back to reality. And some people were doing it because it was a genuine scientific, like, if we're going to explore the stars, this is probably what we're going to have to do. And some people were doing it because it was a new prison initiative where you would only actually be gone for a few months, but in the simulation, you'd do your entire 20-year stint. So both of those groups end up coming out of the simulation together. And I just love Brendan Fraser too. He is just nostalgia, and then also just so admirable for everything he's gone through. And another really fun Audible original that I have just stuck in my head is Billy Kelly, This Is a Family Show. And I thought that was going to be ironic, but no, it was just a cute little family show. And I keep sort of humming one of the songs, like, brain and mouth an inseparable pair, till brain gets distracted and mouth does whatever it wants. And like, that hits. That hits. Number 10 is You Are by Stephen King. And this is about a college professor who finally comes into the 21st century and gets himself a Kindle, but his Kindle is a little bit different than everyone else's. His Kindle lets him read books and check out news articles from alternate dimensions. And then number 9, Last Gifts of the Universe, is about these siblings and their little orange kitty who are out there looking for caches amongst the stars. these alien civilizations have left behind caches or clues, little packets of information about what happened to them, which is a giant mystery. And their cat has its own little spacesuit and it goes along with them, which I absolutely loved. But then there's like, I don't, remnants, I think is what they call them. But they're like reavers, they're really scary things left over from the aliens that destroyed all the other aliens. So there's a lot of action and a lot of just like heartfelt family moments. Number 8, Only Human, a Doctor Who story by Gareth Roberts. I love the Ninth Doctor. He wasn't my first Doctor. The Fourth Doctor was technically my first Doctor from the original series, but 9 just has a very special place in my heart, and somehow they end up back in prehistoric days, and there's a random alien corporation there. And people, these aliens, have figured out how to medicate away everything, all of your emotions. And then, is that what makes you human? Or only human? Great little Doctor Who romp. And then number 7, the refrigerator monologues. If you're familiar with tropes in comic books, to refrigerate a woman is basically to kill her off at the beginning to feed the male protagonist's story. So she's not actually a person, she's just there as a plot device so that the main male character has something to do. And this was such a good, hard-hitting, succinct exploration of what if real life misogyny was more expounded upon in the comics and what it is like as a woman, especially with mostly male colleagues and how they get treated. This was a really great and surprisingly heavy, hard-hitting series of short stories. Number 6, The Widow's Husband's Secret Lie by Frida McFadden. And this is such a fun meta commentary. She is so self-aware that her books are just pulpy fun. And she's poking fun at the tropes that she and a lot of other thriller writers use all the time. And it just, if you read thrillers and you want something a little bit more lighthearted and goofy, this is so awesome. I loved this so much. And then 4 and 5 are both short story collections that very much read like Black Mirror or Twilight Zone episodes. And I just love that. Short stories can do so much to just spur on the imagination when it comes to sci-fi and technology. So The Egg and Other Stories by Andy Weir. Some of these stories were so short, but so poignant. And then Miniatures by John Scalzi. These are like micro stories, some of them, but they're just such punchy, pithy, thought-provoking little vignettes. They were awesome. Number 3 is The Original by Brandon Sanderson and Mary Robinette Cowell. And this is very heavy on the sci-fi. This woman gets revived and finds out that she's a clone, and she has to go find her original, who has committed a horrible crime and kill the original. It's very Blade Runner meets Altered Carbon, and I really enjoyed it. Number 2, the Z Word. This is a play on the L word, and I love my zombies. I just do. And these are actually kind of like the scary 28 Days Later zombies. Like, these aren't Walking Dead slow zombies. These are like scary, fast, mean, angry zombies that break out at Pride because corporations and capitalism. And my number 1 of this month that I just keep telling people, like, oh my gosh, and it was, I think, the first novella I read this month, is Straight by Chuck Tingle. And up until recently, Chuck Tingle was kind of a campy, weird, like, erotica writer, but he's really dove into serious writing, and he really is touching on so many LGBTQIA plus themes, and just, oh, I love it. I read Camp Damascus, and So Straight also is one of the most interesting takes on the zombies, or the zombie situation, I've ever read. I still think about it, and I still tell people about it a month later. About once a year, the Earth passes close to a spatial anomaly, and it makes all the straight people go nuts and kill off their queer, gender non-conforming, gay, lesbian, LGBTQIA plus neighbors, friends, family, co-workers. But then when they're away from the spatial anomaly, things go back to normal. So it's like, how do you handle, like, hey, sorry I broke your arm when you tried to kill me on Tuesday, but you know, that report's due on Friday. Like, how would you handle that when people are only crazy for a day or two out of the year? It also touches on the foibles of straight allyship, of people who are in the closet. This did so much in 128 pages. I think everyone, just period, should read it because it's a great take on the zombie genre. But also, it really does explore some really deep LGBTQIA plus themes. It's great. So those were my top novellas that I read or listened to during November, and it was a really great reading month for me. It wasn't the best as far as personal life, but it is definitely getting better, and that's what counts. And I tell my students, I tell my friends all the time, and sometimes I have to tell myself, just keep your shoulders back, keep your head up, and breathe.